Ooh, ah, oh. Yeah, let's do this. Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again, and I gotta tell you, oh, I am excited about this. As a matter of fact, I have opted not to wear pants just so that I'm not any further constricted. Today, we are finally going to take a look at this amazing guest blade. This is the Martin Q36 Ghost Pepper, and it is absolutely magnificent. This is something that as soon as I saw RJ make this, I couldn't have been more excited. Now, he had made this specifically to take with him to the Blade Show for 2021. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it. I wanted to see this thing in person ever since he posted about it. And I put a note out there and I said, whoever gets this, please take a bunch of pictures. Please take some video so that we can live vicariously through you and enjoy what a magnificent knife this really is. And lo and behold, it was actually a buddy of mine that got his hands on it. He bid on it at the auction at Blade Show. So yes, he paid more than he would have paid if he would have just commissioned the knife to be made directly from RJ. But he's actually bought quite a few auction knives like that. They've always been worth it to him. He's not the kind of guy that really flips knives a lot. You won't see him buy up, 20 knives in a year and then turn around and sell 18 of them like you see some collectors do. As you watch his collection grow through Instagram, and I'm going to link it down below, you'll see that he's bought all of these absolutely amazing knives and he's held on to them. He has a very particular love for these knives. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to flip things over. We're going to get a tabletop view like you're used to seeing, and we're going to just dive in deep and talk about what makes this particular knife so exciting. Now, if you go back a ways in my channel, the very first guest blade video that I ever did featured, one of the knives that featured in there was the Martin Q36 with zirconium bolsters just like this. Well, not just like this, but it had zirconium bolsters, and this one does as well. And I was truly amazed. I had never handled an Martin before. I didn't know really quite what to expect. And Bob, the person that sent it in to me, says, if you're into flippers, then you have to feel what the king of flippers does. You have to feel that detent. You have to hear the bolsters sing when it swings open. You have to experience a Q36. I said, okay, great, send it along. And I instantly fell in love with it. And I had to own one. The very next Q36 video I did was on my own. I actually bought 3 at one time. I paid secondary market value for one, which at the time, this was, I guess, about 2014, somewhere around there. The table price was $850. Secondary market price was anywhere between $1,400 and $2,000 back then. So I paid secondary market value buying one from a collector, and then immediately afterwards, I was able to find a dealer that sold me 2 at table price. It was $850 and then $875 for the second one because it had a lightning strike carbon fiber backspacer, so it was a few dollars more. And I fell so much more in love owning 3 of them at one time. I did sell 2 to other people, gave them a really, really good deal when prices were beginning to go up higher and higher. And I was able to help a couple of other makers make their dream come true, just like it just happened for me. So they got their Qs, I had my Q, I was in love. It's a fantastic carry knife. And when you pull it out and you flip it and oh God, when you hear that thing, it's unlike anything else out there. And this one's a little bit different. We're going to talk about why here in a moment. But I just wanted to share my excitement. Even going back then, I still remember the excitement that I had for when I first got that knife and the joy that I had carrying it. Now keep in mind, prices have gone up substantially. A standard titanium carbon fiber Q is no longer $850. You're going to pay an exorbitant amount of money. Materials have gone up tremendously since then. RJ's labor prices have gone up since then. It's hard to categorize this because this was an auction knife, but this did go for over $4,000. And again, the buyer that got it owns many other amazing, prestigious knives. He knows what knives are worth, and this was worth it to him. This is a one of one. There are no others like this, and we're going to talk about what makes it special when we flip things upside down and get to the tabletop right now. Where do you even start? Oh my God, where do you even start on a knife like this? Let's talk about first what makes it special, makes it stand out from other Q36s. Firstly, it's going to have zirconium bolsters instead of the standard orange peel titanium. Zirconium, number one, is more expensive to work with. Number two, it is more dangerous to work with. It's more flammable. The sparks that come off of it they burn hotter, they last longer, and when those sparks make it into the pile of zirc dust, it can very easily start a fire. The next thing is going to be the scales. The scales are not the standard carbon fiber that you would typically see RJ use. This is carbo quartz. And to avoid that long conversation again, down in the description below, I'm going to link you to an article that explains what carbo quartz is. And let's just suffice it to say it is stupidly expensive. A piece just about this big, by that big, is going to run about $400. It is extraordinarily expensive. Luckily, it's easy to work with, and it comes out really, really nice. The next thing that's going to make it stand out is, of course, this beautiful Damascus blade. Really, really nicely etched. Great pattern. And then RJ's beautiful sweeping plunges going into a nice, thin hollow grind. And then the section back spacer, where you have the black G10 and the orange G10. But what really makes this, and it's very easy to see, is really going to be the diamond patterns that are coming out through not only the carbon fiber. As difficult as that would have been, he also did it in the zirconium. And when I talked to RJ about how he did this, basically it's exactly what you think it is. So there is a block of orange G10 here, here, and here, where that block has then been cut out for all these diamonds so that they're sticking up higher than the flat portion of that material. Then the exact same size, shape, and pattern is then cut out of the zirconium of the bolster and the carbo quartz of the scales, and then it's slid up through and perfectly mated. We're talking ridiculously tight tolerances, because you'll notice, see if we can get this to focus here, no gap. There isn't a single gap anywhere between that orange G10 and the zirconium or the carbo quartz. They are perfectly fitted in every way. It is that amount of precision, that amount of dedication and hard work that puts RJ in that upper echelon of knife makers whose name will live on forever. Whenever it is that he dies, 50 years, 100 years later, people are still going to be trading his knives. The values will still continue to climb, and people will always want to get their hands on one. But it's not just an aesthetic thing. Yes, this is pimpalicious. You've got so much cool shit going on. But even if you buy the most basic variation of a Q36 available, and that would be your orange peel titanium bolsters, his specific type of stonewashing on his monosteel blades, and he is changing and trying some different steels now, so it's hard to say what he's going to be using when you watch this video. And a carbon fiber backspacer with carbon fiber scales, as basic as that is in the raw component offerings, you're still buying an incredibly special knife. You're still buying something that flips unlike anything else. The sharpness of his detent without being difficult to overcome, and that's tricky, to make a sharp detent so that the knife just absolutely flips like a rocket, but the detent isn't so hard that you feel it's difficult to overcome. That is a trick. Now, I mentioned something else earlier in the opening where I said this one was a little bit different than his standard ones. The blade stock is a little bit thicker than what he normally does. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a great appreciation for this. There was only two things I ever didn't like about the Q. And I stated at least one of them, I know for sure with the lock, on the videos that I did, where you would almost always pinch yourself between the bolster and the lock because there were some sharp edges here on the back side of the lock. So you would almost always pinch yourself and you'd get a little, how your skin kind of pulls out a little bit. It would do that. And the other thing was the blade stock was so light that the overall knife felt too light in the blade section. And it kind of made it feel, I don't want to say made it feel cheap, but it didn't make it feel as substantial as you would expect. Now, number one, I'd like to say that sharp area isn't there anymore. Yay! Again, it's been years since I did my videos, so a lot of things are likely to change over the course of time, and that's one of the things. I don't notice any pinch when I go to disengage the lock on the liner lock, not at all. The other thing, that thicker, heavier blade stock allows you to very, very easily see how smooth his action is. Now the blade will drop on its own with just a little bit of jiggle wiggle. Now again, a drop-free blade, a blade that drops free once you've unlocked it, that is not an indication of quality. It's my way of being able to show you how smooth an action is because you can't stand here and touch it and feel it yourself. I'd love for you to stand here with me and touch it and feel it. You could touch it and feel it all day long, but you're unable to. I don't have enough room in the house. So it's just my way of demonstrating to you how smooth that action really is. And I got to tell you, the more I play with this one, the more I want the thicker blade stock. Now, unfortunately, you can't order a knife from R.J. Martin. It doesn't happen. His books are closed. He works with a couple, and I mean only a couple of dealers. Otherwise, you got to meet him at a show. And the thing is, he's one guy. It's just like every other high-end custom knife maker. It's one guy doing all the work. He can only make so many knives. So between the workload that he has for making knives for dealers and then setting aside time to make knives for shows, he may only show up to a show with 3, 4, 5 knives. A lot of times for Blade Show, he's going to have one that he spent months on, that he'll do some sort of innovative design, like that see-through pivot that he did. What was that? 2018, 2017? I don't know what it was. Zero Tolerance made a version of it and all that. So you're going to most likely end up being in a bidding war. And man, I know it's no fun. It sucks. Nobody wants to go to their favorite maker and then have to deal with an auction where you might end up way overpaying because you're dealing with somebody else across the table from you that's as overzealous as you are about that maker, and they want that damn knife as bad as you do. It sucks worse than a dick sticking out of your forehead. But sometimes it's worth it. And to get something like this that's a true one of a kind, I think it was worth it. Yeah, he paid over $4,000 for this, but If you were already going to spend around $2,000 for a Q, you upgrade it to zirconium, you upgrade it to the obscenely expensive raw material in carboquartz, and then you start looking at all the time that it took to design and then make all those little diamonds appear through these materials, you probably were gonna spend close to that anyway, let's be honest. And there's a lot of zirconium here, that zirconium clip, which, by the way, I love the updated clip design that he's been doing over what he used to do on the originals. Definitely like that a lot more. I love the fact that he still puts these palm swells in here. What a wonderfully ergonomic, comfortable knife in the hand. So you were probably going to spend close to that anyway. But now you know, if you're fortunate enough to pick up a knife from him at an auction, and it's something like this, now you know you've got something special. And you've got something that somebody like me is drooling over, is so excited. And I got to tell you, I had forgotten. I had forgotten that Tactical lives in the Philippines. Oh, I'm sorry, not Philippines, Thailand. Shipped it to me from Thailand. I had totally forgotten that he lived there. I'm like, hey man, I'm so stoked that you got it. I'm really glad that somebody that really appreciates the knives got it. But when your honeymoon is over with it, could I borrow it for a guest blade? Because I really think that my subscribers would get a real big kick out of seeing this. And he's like, hell yeah, man, no problem at all. I'll send it out to you next week. And I had forgotten about it. And it arrived. And I'm like, holy shit, he sent this thing halfway around the globe. Never mind the expense of that, but the risk of sending an international. He's absolutely out of his mind. If you would have reminded me, hey man, you know I live way the fuck over here, right? I probably wouldn't have asked. But again, man, thank you so much for sharing this with me. It is absolutely every bit as cool as I thought it would be. Playing with it in my hand, holding it, fondling it, finger banging it, flipping it. It is everything and more, actually, than I expected it to be. So congratulations. I think you made a good investment. There are people going to go, ain't no pocket knife worth $4,000. To you, there isn't. Great. You know what? You're going to spend that much lifting your friggin' truck and putting wheels and tires and shit on it. That to you is worth it. This to us is worth it. Go buy your Walmart knives and your big old lifted truck and a glittery bass boat being pulled behind it. Everybody has different hobbies. If you're a fisherman, you're out there, you got your bass boat, you got all your fancy rods and reels and shit, you're spending more than this on your equipment. And you can justify that because that's what you're into. Us, we're in the knives. Here's the great thing though. You ain't never going to sell that fishing rod and reel for what you paid for it. This is already worth more than he's paid for it. And it's going to continue to appreciate. And as more and more collectors get into the market and learn and appreciate the beauty of custom-made knives, it's just going to continue to go up in value. Now, again, he doesn't care. He's buying his knives for his own pleasure. But I'm telling you right now, this was absolutely worth it. So, guys, thank you, as always, for joining me. I'm glad that you were here for this. Don't forget, go over to my Patreon page. Get yourself hooked up there because I'm going to be giving away some really, really, really awesome stuff pretty much every month. Once everything gets caught up and enough makers have made the knives that I've ordered and I have an inventory here, I'm going to be doing giveaways left and right. And the only way that you can win is if you're a patron. So that's it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next video.